So I've been writing a lot more lately and came across this very interesting idea that I wanted to explore with you today. And the idea is this: thought is not a reality, but the thoughts that we believe in become our reality. And I love this idea so much because within it contains this truth that states that thoughts are actually harmless and have no effect on us until we believe it to be true. Because we can have a thought of, I'm not good enough, or I'm not beautiful, or I'm not intelligent, whatever the thought may be. Let's just take the first one, for example, which is, I'm not good enough. That thought can enter our mind and leave and have no effect. But most of the time when we have a thought like that, we cling on to it and attach to it, give it our attention and energy, which creates this attachment, which then leads to a belief. And that belief is what drives our behavior, which drives our feelings. So we have over 60,000 thoughts in a day. But how can every single one of those be true? And it's kind of like the internet, where it's a conglomeration of all of human thought and consciousness. And do you believe everything that's on the internet? Or do you believe everything that's on the news? In a similar way, why do we believe every single thought that we have? Thoughts only have control over us if we believe in them. But we can have all these thoughts, and if we aren't attached to them, or we don't see them to be true, then they can easily pass through our system. And I like to think of thoughts like food. Not all foods are good for us. Some are better than others. Some harm us if we consume it. But food actually is harmless or doesn't do anything to us until we actually put it into our bodies. And the same is true for thoughts, that the thoughts can only have any impact on us if we believe in it. And the belief is very interesting. And this gives us a lot of freedom and peace, because we don't have to try to prevent thoughts from coming into our minds, because that would be virtually impossible, and that would be so much management and energy. But it's very nice because we can have all these thoughts, but we can actually control what we believe in. So it doesn't even matter what thoughts come in anymore. It's kind of like, you can kind of think of these thoughts as visitors to your home. These visitors that come and knock on your door, do you have to let them in? You don't. You have the option to, one, answer the door, or two, to let them in after you answer the door. In a similar way, we don't have to respond to all of these thoughts that we're having. And the more that we respond or react to the thoughts, the more power they have over us. So the key here within finding more peace and love and joy in our lives is to become less attached to the thoughts that we have, and more specifically, to not believe in the thoughts that are disempowering, that are negative, that aren't true, that essentially make us either depressed, lonely, sad, any of these things. And so to begin to disarm the belief, what we can do is kind of deconstruct the nature of belief itself. This is actually very difficult for me to even understand, but the best way that I've come to explain it is belief within a thought, or just beliefs in general, come from a few things. Yes, we grew up and became conditioned, and whatever our parents kind of told us or people around us told us, we believe to be true, because when we're growing up, we don't really have a filtering mechanism or even an ability to question a lot of the things that are coming into our senses. So let's say we hear our parents say, we don't have any money, or stop doing that, or stop being so loud, or you're embarrassing me. As children, we don't have the ability to filter through those thoughts and to know what's true objectively and absolutely and what's not. It's not until we start to grow later on that we have that ability to decipher, is this true, is this not? So a lot of the things that we believe to be true come from that childhood. And if we don't question a lot of the beliefs that we have, then we are going to be unconsciously controlled by it. So That's why there's a lot of things like shadow work or people going into the childhood trauma and to unravel a lot of it to see how they actually feel and why they feel those ways. And that can be very helpful. And so what we want to do in terms of disarming a belief is to understand the nature of it. And the nature of belief is really just, to me, it seems like belief forms when we give a specific thought our energy and attention. And the more energy and attention we give towards a thought, the stronger of an attachment we form to that thought. And over time, that's what creates a belief. Even if that thought isn't true, like I'm not good enough, if we're constantly told that, over time, we'll just believe it to be true. And that's why within children, it's very important to kind of watch what we say to them, because they will just take it as pure truth. And even to others, it's not even just the children. If someone else, right, we run into somebody else that hasn't really trained themselves to filter out what's true, what's not, and to have the ability to choose what they believe in, whatever we say to them becomes their truth. And so that's how words, and that's how and why words are so powerful, because they come through us in the form of thought. And if we don't have that filtering mechanism or consciousness to be able to control that attention and belief system, then we're just going to be completely controlled by environment. But again, the reality that we live in isn't coming from the outside. It comes from within us and how we think, essentially, and it comes from the thoughts that we actually believe in. And when we start doing this, you'll start to see a shift in your life. And whenever you have a negative emotion, a practice that I love doing is just to question that specific thought, to see where it comes from and to see if it's actually true. And the amazing part is any sort of negative feeling that we have can be used as a trigger to become more aware, more conscious of who we are, why we're reacting this way, and it's actually a reminder to let go of something. Any negative emotion we experience in life is a reminder that we're holding on to something. That's all it is. Because if someone tells us that we're not beautiful, that we're not good enough, that we are insensitive, or whatever it is, rude, or that we're weird, if it triggers us in any way, that means that we're holding on to some sort of belief within that thought. And all it is, that's why we're all mirrors for each other. We're just reminding each other of who we are and what we need to let go of. So that's why I don't necessarily shy away from negative emotions, and no one should, because if we are, then we're repressing it, suppressing it, and it will keep coming back and resurfacing, actually even stronger than it was before, until we learn how to let that go. And that's essentially what karma is. It will keep coming back. These scenarios, it might not be the exact same scenario, but the exact same feeling will resurface through a different circumstance, through a different scenario, until we learn how to let that go. And the way to let it go is to make a very simple decision, to either choose peace and love, or to choose to continue to be rooted in fear and suffering. That's all it is. And all you have to do is ask yourself, is this thinking useful? We have to identify what that specific thought pattern is. Ask ourselves, is it useful? What questions do is create space within our minds. And within that space comes new opportunities, comes time and space for a choice for us to make, where we can choose something different, to decide to live a different life, to choose love as opposed to choosing fear. And the way to do that, and the way to make it easier, is to actually trust that you will be okay. Because without that trust, we're going to keep reverting back to this fear, this uncertainty. And that pattern will keep repeating until we make the leap into the unknown. A lot of times we like to choose our own suffering and to choose what's familiar, even if it comes with a lot of pain, because the unknown is scarier. But if you trust that you're safe also in the unknown, that it's going to be okay, that you'll be able to withstand and figure out whatever happens within the unknown, that's the only place that change can occur, that something new can come in. Because if we keep going back to the familiar patterns and thinking, yes, you might know it, but that comes with a lot of suffering. And it isn't until we go through enough suffering that that pain outweighs the fear that we have of the unknown, of choosing something different, then we're going to repeat that cycle. And that's rock bottom, is when we hit that point where we no longer can withstand a lot of this pain that comes from this thinking, essentially. So I say all this to come back to the original point and idea that thought is not reality, but the thoughts that we believe in become our reality. So choose wisely, choose what you believe in, and based on what we choose, our life becomes whatever that is, and it can change within a matter of seconds. As soon as you choose a different thought to believe in, your reality changes. That's all it is. And don't worry too much about, is this the absolute truth? Is it, how do I know if it's true? Like, what about all this evidence? Don't even worry about all of that. All you have to do is choose, do you want to be at peace now or not? And if you want peace, if you want to be happy, then you know all you have to do is let go of that belief, let go of that thinking that's causing this pain. Even if you don't know what's next, even if you think that the other person's completely wrong, and that the world has wronged you, or whoever it is, or that things aren't fair, that doesn't really matter. All these things, like what is fair in the world? We don't know what that actually is. There's no objective fairness, but we know what we can do in order to experience peace right now. And we don't have to wait until the world changes in order to feel peace, which it won't ever do that for us, because it will keep going no matter what we think, no matter what we do. And there are going to be so many unexpected circumstances and situations that we're in, that we can't control, that won't go our way. And if we are constantly attached to something different, or wanting a different outcome, a different result, then that gap, that expectation that we create through our own thinking, through our own beliefs, is what causes our suffering. And it isn't until we let that go that we can find peace. So choose peace for yourself today. You don't have to commit to doing this whole massive, transformative, life-changing kind of commitment. All you have to do is choose it right now. Let go of whatever you're worried about now. Let go of that thinking, all that baggage. Wouldn't it be nice not to have to think about it anymore? It's already passed, or it hasn't happened yet. So there's no need to constantly think about it. And if that situation comes up again, perfect, right? That's just another reminder that we have something to let go of. But what's the point of constantly thinking about it until it happens again? The actual event of whatever we're afraid of happening will only last a few minutes. But do we want to spend days, weeks, months, years worrying about if it will happen? And so if we let go of it now, we can finally experience that peace in the present moment. And then when we come across that situation or any other situation, we can kind of approach it from this place of love and peace instead of worry, fear, stress. And whenever we approach anything with love, whatever we are looking at changes. So it's not even going to be the same situation, really, because you're going to be a different person when you face it. And that's how we evolve as humans, as consciousness, as spirits. And so try that today. That whenever you feel any sort of a negative emotion, look at the thinking behind it and see what kind of thinking is causing the feeling, and ask yourself, is this thinking useful? Do I want to keep thinking like this and to feel like this? And then make the decision to choose peace or to continue to choose to suffer. Either one's fine. If you need to keep going through whatever you're going through, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to force yourself to do it, but realize that you always have the choice to choose peace in the present. That's all I have, and thank you for being here with me, and just thank you for being you.